us off, please, with opening?
After a game like that, I don't know that I can get my breath to talk right now, but whale of a game. I thought two good teams just battled, and I give a lot of credit to Northern because they made big play after big play, and they really made us pay for some breakdowns there in the second half when they kind of built the lead a little bit at the end. And listen, my kids fought, and I'm proud of them for that. I thought we played at a high level. Northern just played at a little bit higher level. Again, whale of a game between two really good teams, but it counts just like the rest of them. The worst part about it is we got to sit there tomorrow on a day off and think about it before we can come back in worried about the next one. So, after today, it's got to be full steam ahead, and there's a lot of basketball left to be played.
Brady, in your two MAC losses, you've given up more than 100 points.
Yeah.
I guess depending on what side of the score, you can rationalize that different ways. But did you run into two hot offensive teams in those two games? Do you point at your defense in those games? How do you look at that?
Yeah, I guess the answer is yes. I think both teams that we gave 101 up to, it's hard to say. Both teams that we gave 101 up to played really, really well. But I don't think it's anything abnormal for them. I think they played like that all year, both Central and Northern. So then you look at what you're doing defensively a little bit. And I think, without watching the film, I think our breakdowns today were a little bit different than our breakdowns against Central. But nonetheless, the breakdowns hurt us. They broke down too. We just didn't make them pay enough when they broke down to the level that they made us pay. We left some free throws on the board. I guess if you want to point the finger at anything in those 101-point games that we gave up, it probably starts with me because I said, let's go play. Like, we're okay with this tempo. Like, I don't think our kids shy away from going up and down and playing in this type of a game. I think we're very comfortable playing in this type of a game. And so I chose the first time through playing these people to play. And, if it wasn't for some breakdowns, and again, you give them credit because they made us pay, we were right there. So, there's a lot of answers to that. Doug, I think at the end of the day, in January, you always pull back and you say, how are we playing? Like day in and day out, how are we playing? How are we practicing? And I think the answer to that's good. We're playing good. If this was the championship game, then maybe we go about it differently. But there's a lot of basketball left, and what I'm worried about is us. How are we playing? And I don't know that this loss changes how we're playing. Now, it may make them mad. We'll see how they react to that. But at the end of the day, I do think we're playing pretty good.
Renee, I saw you were double teamed 2 or 3 times throughout. What led to that, and how can you defend against a team that will just swarm like we saw today?
Well, I've been being double teamed most of the conference, so it's nothing new to me. And we work on it in practice, looking to the weak side, looking for the open player. And you saw that today a couple of times, getting the ball to Kalen on the block or kicking it back out for our 3-point shooters. I don't think it really changes the way I play or the way we play. I think that it's just something that is part of how we game plan, part of how we prepare to go into each game. And, we're ready for it. And we practice it every day. So, it doesn't really change anything that we're doing.
What do you think happened today? Was it defense, or was it the low shooting here that showed up here on the stats? You were under 50% shooting today. You're usually over that.
I just think, some days maybe shots fall, some days they don't. Maybe I was a little too rushed. I'll have to go back, maybe when I watch film I'll see some things that, I need to work on in practice and whatnot. But other than that, I just think try to go out there and play the best that I could, and that's what happened.
a game like this, you just kind of have to live with it. You still feel good about your performance.
Mhm.
But in that fourth quarter, NIU hit 11 of 15.
Right.
I know they had a couple big threes that.
Thank God they didn't shoot 16, huh? Had to hit one more.
No, I mean, yeah. How hard
Yeah.
is it to kind of overcome a team when they're winning that much?
Holy cow. It just, this was a game that every possession was monumental. Even in the first half, it felt like every possession was monumental. And then when you get in the third quarter, you get in the fourth, it's every single play was like a game changer. And, that's a lot of pressure for these kids to play through, and that's where I credit Northern because they made those plays in those situations. And, to come out and shoot 11 for 15, even if you're by yourself, is something, and again, like I credit them, they made the shots. Courtney Woods nailed a big three down the stretch. We had a couple of those same looks, in and out. So, when you go back and you look at it and you say, all right, that shot and that shot looked exactly the same. And so for me, I just don't get caught up in all that stuff. I look at our execution. Now, what I'll go back and look at is how did Courtney have that shot? How did Michaela Voigt have that shot? And those are the things we'll learn from film. We'll come back in and practice. We'll get better. But, yeah, as the game's going, and I talked to them about this, the good teams have an ability to see something that just broke down and then fix it on the fly. They understand, okay, last time when I switched I was flat and now I've got to change my angle, and they make that adjustment. And I think we did that at times, and I think at other times it showed up in some undiscipline. And when we were undisciplined, they burn us. So those are the lessons that we're going to have to learn in a high-level game like this is, the discipline you have to play with and the plan has to be stuck to. And you got to figure out how to make plays within that type of a system. I mean, again, end of January, 9 games to go, probably nothing more, nothing less than that.
Coach, obviously in a game like this, you can't run the starters out there the whole time because they'll just get too tired.
Mhm.
I know you guys still got to look at the tape, but how would you evaluate how the bench did today?
Yeah, I mean, I thought Destiny was really good, and got in some foul trouble, and it limited her minutes, but I thought she was really effective, clearly, pretty efficient stat line for her, and she needed this game, and I'm happy for her that she played as well as she did. And, Franny gave us what Franny gives us, tons of energy, played really, really hard, and that's what we've come to expect from her. I think Morgan did some really good things on the offensive end, and they were attacking her a little bit with some ball screen stuff, and so she probably didn't get to play the amount of minutes she would have liked. But, it would have maybe helped if we could have gotten a little bit deeper into it, but I thought that group played pretty well.
And then, Dakota mentioned the, NIU shooting there in the fourth quarter, but then, in the second half for you guys, the threes just weren't really falling. Okay, fine, 3-16 there in the second half.
Yeah.
Threes. So, what kind of impact, does that have a game when those shots aren't falling, especially in a high-scoring game like this?
Yeah, I mean, you just – I tell them all the time, you focus on execution. You don't focus on makes or misses. And so the question is, how were we executing to get those threes? How were we executing to get the shots we were getting? If we're doing what we're supposed to do, if we're executing, then we're good. And we understand that some nights they're going to fall, and some nights when they don't, you got to be able to lean on something else. And for most of the season, we've leaned on our defense, and we've been able to stop a team when we haven't made a ton of threes. Tonight wasn't the case. And so, those became monumental. But that was the fun part of the game, too, was that, it was like on the edge of your seat. Like every shot was huge and every play was huge. And, I would hope that our kids had a ball playing in a game like that, although they're madder than heck right now. Again, it was just a high-level game, and we'll go back, we'll look at execution, and as long as that execution was there, I trust these kids. I mean, listen, they got us to 7-1. They're the reason we're at the top. And, you know, they got us to 14-6, and they're the reason we're having a good year and the whole thing. Like, so I'm on board, man, you know, so all I want to see is, are we executing, get those shots, and I felt pretty good about them. You know, I feel good about getting Jill and Mo the looks that we're getting, and you know, it was the reason we beat Buffalo, you know, less than 3 or 4 days ago. So now, just, you know, a short time later, we're not going to go cuckoo, you know, because we missed a couple, you know, and we're going to keep shooting those shots, and we're good.
Renee, coach has mentioned a couple times how every possession mattered in this game, and you know, so kind of tense throughout. Did you feel that as a player?
Yeah. I mean, there was a while, I think, there in the fourth quarter, we were just exchanging baskets, you know. We would score down on one end, they would come down, execute, score on that end, and I mean, that's where you start feeling the pressure. You need to get a stop. Every basket, every shot that you shoot, it has to go in. It needs to count. You got to make it count. And I mean, that's definitely, you know, a big part of these games that are so close is you have to take advantage of the opportunities that you have, and then on the other end, you got to go down there and make a stop. And just at the end of the day, I mean, like Coach said, they took advantage and were able to produce more off of, you know, their stops, and we just couldn't produce at the end.
Can that be a little mentally exhausting, you know, when it's so much back and forth?
Sometimes. I mean, it just it depends, but I mean, you know, you're getting down there at the end, and, you know, you make one shot and you gotta, you know, you're running back down there and trying your best to get a stop, and then another one goes in, and it's just kind of back and forth, but you just gotta make sure that you stay with it and keep playing the game, and hopefully, you know, one will go your way or something like that, so.
All right, thanks so much for coming out. Good luck at Akron next week.
All right, thank you.